Hey everyone, today we get another mistake from King Saul. Now the Israelite soldiers were in a difficult situation that day because Saul had bound the troops to a solemn oath. Anyone who eats anything before evening when I have taken a revenge on my enemies is doomed. So none of the army ate anything. The troops came across a honeycomb with honey on the ground, but even when they came across the honeycomb, no one ate any of it because the troops were afraid of the solemn oath. But Jonathan hadn't heard his father make the people swear the oath. So he dipped the end of his staff he was carrying in the honeycomb. When he ate some, his eyes lit up. Then one of the soldiers spoke up, "Your father bound the troops by a solemn oath. Anyone who eats food today is doomed. That's why the troops are exhausted." Jonathan said, "My father has brought trouble on the land. Look how my eyes lit up when I tasted just a bit of honey. It would have been even better if the troops had eaten some of the enemy's plunder today when they found it. But now the Philistines' defeat isn't as thorough as it might have been." So there's a couple reasons why swearing or making an oath is a bad idea. One, when it comes to other people, what you're usually trying to do is convince them you're telling the truth when they have a reason to believe that's not actually the case. And then they can also often be used to try and force God's hand, right? God, I swear if you do this, then I'll do that. And you see a lot of the negative results that can come from it in this story. They're not doing as well on the battle as they could be because all the people are exhausted. Later on, when they do finish the battle, the troops end up eating unclean food because they're just so hungry. Saul's son Jonathan, who breaks the vow, is nearly killed later, right? Saul actually wants to kill his son because he didn't live up to it, and it's actually the people who defend Jonathan. And so you're already seeing a divide here between Saul and his son, which will get even worse when David comes into a relationship. And you could even argue that Saul curses himself because he broke this oath. I think we're seeing here the results of Saul's insecurity with his role as king. Power reveals who people really are, and unfortunately a lot of times it reveals their flaws. Saul clearly was not up to the task. That's why he was trying to make this oath to deal with that. And we all feel that in some ways, right? We call it imposter syndrome, where you just have this feeling of if people knew that I don't know what I'm doing, they would, be done with me. But even if we do feel that sometimes, we got to make sure that it doesn't lead to overreaction. Instead, it should lead us to humility. Jesus is our example of someone who knew who he was, and he also knew how loved he was by God. And so he was able to operate from a place of stability and security, and even from humility. Even though, if anyone had a reason to not be humble, it was him. Our true king also teaches us, don't swear, right? Let your yes be yes, your no be no. That's all you need, right? I know who I am, I know what I mean, and that's enough. We can't force other people to believe us. We can't force God to do what we want. So we don't need oaths. We just need to trust God and earn others' trust through our integrity.